Welcome to the next session, which is going to be a brilliant one, once again, which I'm learning a lot in this conference. The sector already knows it, but maybe it's time to rediscover the innovations of the industry. In this session, we'll be speaking about innovative practices of the sustainable garment technology. I have valuable speakers here, and I also have an international connection. Mehmet Karali, welcome. And the previous director of the association, welcome. And at the same time, we have an international connection. We'll reach out to many places around the globe. I think it's Atlanta in the United States, where we'll meet Gökhan Erkovan as the founding director of Babylon International. Good morning. I don't know what time it is there. What is the time? 7. 7, not bad, right? Not too early, it's normal. Welcome, and we'll be discussing with you these milestone points. But before that, we'll be discussing within the studio, kicking off with Mehmet Karali. We are speaking about no water technologies, but there are many global brands that are recommending such technologies. But how would you explain to us no water technology? In the previous session, I've discovered that when producing one t-shirt, the amount of water consumed to manufacture is equal to the amount of water that one person will consume in 3 years. I'm just surprised. So your technology matters. Thank you. Actually, we are on the washing side of the apparel industry, which is also a cost-intensive, source-intensive. The main resource that we're using as the main input is water, which is the most precious resource around the globe. You know that only 3% of all the water in the world is usable water. At home, in our industries, including the apparel industry, we are using water in all processes. There is one more thing about water when running the processes, not only water, but all the other chemicals, dyes, will also be subject to some heating to be activated after each wash. The wastewater ends up in the treatment facilities where there will be some treatment by some chemicals. These are all in proportion to the amount of water you're using. The amount of water, the higher it is, the higher your heating, electricity, treatment. These all will increase at the same time. And currently, for the moment, even one drop of water really matters, particularly for us as the machine manufacturers. For a drop of water saving, we do our best. And in any wash process, almost 15 to 20 steps are included for water intake. Back in 1980s, 90s, even the amount of water that was used was measured. No one even knew how much water they were consuming. Let me give you another striking example. For a pair of trousers, up to 150 liters could have been consumed for a simple pair of trousers, which today, thanks to the technologies being used, is downsized down to the scale of 30, 40 liters. But we want to take it even further and would like to enjoy more advanced technologies, including ozone washing free of water, smart flow, pressurized nano-bubbling of chemicals, where there will be spraying on the caps to be applied on the textile. So we accomplished to do that. In average, in good facilities, in average, 23 liters are being used to wash a pair of trousers. In the days to follow, the target is even to come down to 12, 13 liters. To be able to do that, we have to work quite hard. Which we are. Actually, there is another point of concern here. We are all concerned about resources, wastewater, water consumption, environmental pollution. Of course, we are under a lot of pressure, but there is a huge benefit to manufacturers because the less water you use, the less manufacturing cost you would face. The more money you would make, because going trouser by trouser. In a pair of trousers, the wash process costs about 65 to 70 cents. So cutting off 30% out there means 20 cents of a profit in a pair of trousers. I mean, multiplying it with the amount of manufacturing multiplied by 12, you can see that it's a huge amount of money. So the manufacturers of the industry would like to advise to go in this direction, and we have our own R&D laboratories where we call our colleagues and show what we're doing, and we invite them to come with their own products so that they will be explained only about the machines where they get their own outcomes with their own products, so that they know how much important it is to make an investment. So it's not just about money, but at the same time about our lives. The better we save both. So it's the best outcome is just to save in both as well. Yes, the evolution and the change in the wash technologies will be discussed in this session. In the past, it was up to 150 to 200 liters, a pair of trousers. So as this happens, new technologies, new investments, as you have clearly said, are preferred by global brands. And if I may, I'd like to turn to Şeref Fayat, who is the president of the Assembly of Turkish Readywear and Apparel Industry Assembly. I mean, can you just give us an oversight as to where we have come from in history? For a livable world, of course, there is on one side the cost aspect attached to this debate, but on the other hand, there is the environment relating to a more reasonable use of water. Thank you very much for this. We're all excited to be a part of the conference and would like to say that it's an honor to be a speaker of the panel as a person who has been involved in organizing the conference for the last 3 years. Together with intensive industrialization, we started to discuss the mistakes that we've done against the world, against our planet. And in the 20th century, the Industrial Revolution started in the UK, ending up wealth and growth and capital, where this capital was first shared amongst the Western countries, and there was an intensive industrial revolution. This process that started in 18th century continued quite intensively by the end of 19th century, but we realized by the end of the 19th century that in Rio de Janeiro they needed to make this meeting about the greenhouse emissions because it contributed to the global warming and climate change. Then in 1994, 191 countries and the EU became a ratifying party, but with no concrete outcomes. And later on, Kyoto Protocol in Japan was also discussed and agreed amongst all the countries, but unfortunately no outcomes could be reached. And then the Paris Climate Convention was signed in 2011 by countries including Turkey, the biggest manufacturing China, and the United States. Unfortunately, didn't do what it needed to be done. They couldn't fulfill the requirements, and the EU took an initiative concluding that the world is not livable anymore. And back in 2019, there was this consensus document that was agreed upon, the Green Deal, and in 2019, after being published in the official gazette, became an obligation for the parties. And after that, of course, our liability was initiated because industrialized worlds, in a sense, polluted the world and kicked the ball to developing countries. I mean, it was not a fair time, and we discussed it in the previous session. Developed countries got developed, polluted the world. After a certain point, they are dictating to the developing countries, stop, don't pollute. I mean, now that we're developed, so you need to press the brake, but they have a huge responsibility, as you have said. Unfortunately, in the Paris Climate Convention, we ratified. Unfortunately, we are one of the 6 countries that failed to pass from the parliament parliament, but our president promised that it will be brought to the parliament because Turkey needs to fulfill the requirements of the Green Deal. So we need to express an intention. This probably is going to strengthen your hand. Yes, we're in scope 3 in all transport processes, greenhouse emissions. Unfortunately, Turkey needs to make some practices, and probably it will become negotiable. Some notes I have taken here, especially the EU is our main market. $160 billion worth of a textile consumption is there in Europe, which is equal to 26 kilograms per person. And every year, 5 kilograms go to waste, and quite strikingly, they need to bury and burn this waste. And in this sector, this is the 5th biggest sector that is producing greenhouse gases, which is also a bottleneck. Actually, the sector needs to be working on it. And as I say, the greenhouses cover all the processes where there is an advantage for Turkey, by the way, within brackets, because in Far East transportation, there is a higher implication on the greenhouse emissions. This merely will be a reason to prefer Turkey rather than Asia, China. As one item arrives to Europe from Far East, there will be greenhouse gas emissions, and to exclude it, simply for this reason, they can prefer Turkey over Far East. As Turkey doing its best for the European Green Deal will have a positive discrimination in this respect as well. Another striking example. In all this textile and apparel, recycling is enormous. It's just 1% being recycled, which is not sustainable. Therefore, for sustainability, we need huge investments for apparel industry. As discussed in the previous sessions, there are many aspects to it, but what needs to be done, firstly, the industry must self-regulate with regulations. And manufacturing countries, including Turkey, should be in the position of respecting raw materials, energy, water. I mean, from the outset, renewables should be a priority. I think Turkey has an advantage there because we have huge renewable energy plants built in Turkey, and Turkey is getting ready for the Green Deal. If and once we do it, probably we will be positively differentiated. We'll come back if time allows. Thank you. And we will be going to United States to Gökhan, Erkovan, and the floor is yours. Can you please discuss sustainability in washing facilities as previously discussed by our panelists? You're in the States and you're witnessing processes there, your context, and what is going on there in this technology.
Actually, Mehmet, Mr. Karali very well provided an introduction, and he's in a way my mentor. I learned a lot from him. But initially, let me just start that way. Turkey, especially in terms of wash and dye, I would say is a leader in the world. For example, looking at Italy and Spain, of course, at the same time, they also have these technologies, but Turkey is really very advanced in that manner. I can say maybe we are 30 years ahead of the rest of the world in terms of the technology being used in here. Now, as for the technologies in Turkey, we started to introduce them to the factories here. And then there is actually a sincerity problem. That's what we observed initially. For example, saving from water. People start to think about the investment that they will make so as to save water. It's okay, you save that much amount of water, but at the same time, electricity, heating and everything, you will actually have saving from other aspects as well. So we found out that we had to do something different. So we concentrated on the brands. And eventually we found out that once the brands asked the factories to do so, once they dictated to the factories, then something started to happen. And really, I'm very proud to say that the brands that are developed, the technologies that are actually developed in Turkey, in terms of water, chemical, and in all energy inputs, these technologies really helped a lot of reduction in all these aspects. And once we introduce all these things to different brands, you had several advantages. And then back to the suppliers saying, look at these brands really appreciated and approved our technology. Even they're using our technology. For example, several very well-known brands in the United States, we introduced our technologies to them, and they are actually using our own technology and our own machines, and they actually use the production techniques that we offer to them. We first started with laser. It was so difficult to sell laser, especially for denim producers. Actually, we were starting from the very beginning. After cooperation and collaboration with these brands, we actually had an increase in our sales. Of course, everything that we did in here is also helpful in other countries in the world for our producers. I mean, there are some other countries, some other companies similar to us here. And in the course of time, especially, let's assume a denim pant, for example. There is actually 2 to 3 hours of washing, and you have to have water input 5 times. I mean, for 1 kg of denim, 10 liters of water was used, but now we decreased it down to 3 liters. That's actually a huge amount of, especially for heating energy, for use of chemicals, and for water, of course, saving from water. And then, as Mr. Karali stated, nano bubble technology, and we reduced it down to 90%. It is followed by ozone technology, washing and treatment by ozone, in particular to change the color, for example, use of the ozone. So the brands actually wanted this the most, especially the designers and so on. They asked for it. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Erkovan. Thank you very much. We just have a couple of minutes left, especially back to Mehmet Karali from TOLKAR SMARTEX about already existing technologies, washing technologies, and about your current situation. How about your export potential and cooperation with with the international companies? Of course, we continue to investigate on this, and also as a company, we have an R&D center accredited by the state. Everything is actually controlled by the state and approved by the state. For example, if there is an innovation that we discovered, whether it can actually turn into commercial, whether there's a potential for export, it's all controlled by the state and then approved. So far, we had 16 to 17 projects, and 75% of these projects commercialized, and we are exporting them. We have export to 90 countries, but we're everywhere where textile is. That's what I can say. I mean, we are dominant over almost all markets, actually, in the world. I also personally visited there. What's going on in South Asian market, in Vietnam, in China, America, South America. As Mr. Fayat stated, in Southeast Asia, making a product produced and bringing it through marine transport, to think about the time loss, the carbon footprint, and the carbon emission, and so on, is just horrible. And the biggest advantage that Turkey has, that we actually have high workmanship skills. It's very difficult to do something fast and good, but this is what we succeed in doing in Turkey. But Asia is not at the same level with us. Even if they do it correctly, they would do it slow, and if they do it faster, they do it wrong. And on the top of this, put the logistics and the transport and the time it takes and so on. Therefore, as Turkey, we are so advantageous. And as the President of the Assembly stated, by way of recycling investment and with some good technology, we really have to support it and we should not miss the train. So it's a big advantage. So this train is coming on the track to Turkey, but it is on the way to Europe. Just a couple of final words, especially in the framework, within the framework of the Green Deal. Maybe we're not the industry that is to be prioritized, but in particular by 2023, those who are making big purchases from us ask for the Green Deal requirements. Therefore, circular economy, energy efficiency, digital transformation, and issues like reducing carbon footprint would be the point of discussion in the future. We have to be sensitive towards the environment. It's actually not a preference. It's going to be a must for the world. So, clean washing technologies and so on. I think all companies should increase their capacity, and there's a need for financial support at the same time for training. We're working with the ministries, and I believe that especially green organized industrial estates is also important, and it's a part of the presidential decree now. And I would like to thank you for this. And also, it's very nice to be a guest at the same time, not only the one of the organizers of the event from the Turkish Commodity Exchanges Union, and also thank you very much to the representative of TOLKAR SMARTEX, and also thank you very much who joined us from Atlanta, although actually joined us so early in the morning, Mr. Erkovan. Thank you very much. Actually, we wake you up early in the morning from Babylon International. Thank you very much. So that's the end of the session. Now we actually continue to discuss about the innovative practices in sustainable apparel technology, and we actually will continue with the next session soon.